to be honest here, it doesn't feel like it's worth getting excited about Cal Mitchell. There's nothing about his numbers that leap off the page, except for one thing. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into football and or hockey. I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins that I hope you'll check out. Tigers 5, Pirates 3 last night at PNC Park, or should I say this morning at PNC Park, considering the 2-hour rain delay pushed the finish back to a tick after midnight. Not a whole lot to say about this one. Jose Quintana, for the first time really all season, was sitting right in the middle of the plate, getting beaten around pretty good. Second time through the Detroit order. There was some defensive ugliness later on involving Mitchell, who unwisely went forward on a sinking liner, tried to dive to get it. That seldom goes well. It got past him. Bad cutoff, bad relay. Yeah, they lost. But also, Mitchell homered for the second consecutive game. And this homer looked a lot like the one the day before, in that he's a little bit of a lanky, left-handed guy in the box. He got under it gracefully, elegantly, with his drive coming from the legs, but much more so in the form of the smooth swing. And, well, here's how he described hitting the home runs in the back-to-back games after the one last night.
It's been able to stay balanced, attack some good pitches to hit, and stay inside of them and hit them well.
Not much elaboration there. Well, that's because he'd go on to get asked about the mistake, and he did elaborate on that. And, you're a baby-faced rookie in the clubhouse. I don't care how many other youngsters are around you. You're not going to sit there and go, man, that felt awesome to hit that home run, and I hit one last game too. Did you get that? No one's going to do that. No one with any common sense. This strikes me as being a pretty bright kid based on the conversations that I've had with him. That's only part of what makes him impressive. It's not, as I said, the numbers. He's basically been what he is now through 42 plate appearances for the Pirates, and that's a 250 guy with some pop, not a ton of walks, but also not a ton of strikeouts. Ton of power, but also not a real imbalance toward being Punch and Judy. Not a ton of flash or polish in the field either, but also not an embarrassment out there other than that play last night. But if you're parsing carefully everything that I'm saying and you pile it all up in front of you, what you have is the one thing that all baseball players covet the most, and that is, of course, consistency. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. I went back and took a glance at Mitchell's minor league stats going all the way back to rookie ball in the Gulf Coast League, and it's the same the whole way up. He is who he is, and I don't say that in the negative sense at all. When Mitchell arrived to the Pirates 3 weeks ago, I got a text from a scout friend of mine who I've known and trusted for years, who shared with me the following observation. I'm obviously going to leave his name out of it, as I always do from any scouts who reach out. He said, "We had some doubts about him when we first laid eyes on him. We weren't sure what we had. Not at the plate and not out in the field. It took time, and the more we watched him, the more we had him, the more we realized he had pretty much everything that we were looking for." Yes, that. I love that. Now, that doesn't mean that Cal Mitchell is the next this or that, or he's going to be a starter for the Pirates. Who knows? Who knows? But if you're consistent in this sport more than any other, you will be rewarded. If you can find ways to avoid slumps, no one will care all that much about your streaks. And also, there's this to consider. Mitchell's 23 years old. That's not super, super young to make it into the majors, but it's still pretty young. He shot up through the Pirates system pretty quickly. So I feel like it'd be fair to at least entertain the possibility that if he's built himself a firm foundation, something that he can work off, something that he knows he can rely on without having to panic or worry about, being, demoted or released or whatever, then he can evolve. When you see that swing, especially the one last night, there's not a hitting coach anywhere who wouldn't say to themselves, you know what, I can work with that. I can work with that. We can develop better pitch recognition. We can develop better understanding of the specific opponents that are being faced, of the type of progressions that those pitchers or that battery might go through. And from there, he can become better than just consistent, or consistently better. When we come back, just one question. Today's J1Q comes from Brad, who asks, are we seeing a glimpse into the future for the Pirates, or are we seeing a lucky run and the pieces are still few and far between? Last night's lineup, Brad, I don't know if you realize this or not, but it had 5 rookies in it. That's a lot of children, okay? And I don't even say that in a derisive way. That's a lot of children to be running out there in a legit major league game against a legit major league opponent, whether that's in Dodger Stadium in front of 50,000 people, or whether it's, a night like last night at PNC Park where you wait around for 2 hours, it's raining, it got a lot colder after the rain, it was dark, there's like almost nobody there out of the announced crowd of 10,000 plus. It's still a major league setting. This is what Derek Shelton had to say about that after the game last night.
Yeah, I think you're probably going to see that a little bit. You're going to continue to see rookies. What we have 5 on the field tonight, so it's where we're at, where we're going, and it's fun. They're going to do some really good things. They're going to do some things we need to talk about, but yeah, I didn't think about it at all.
He's right. We probably shouldn't lose sight of that. We're all still pounding our fists and everything over O'Neal Cruz and Mason Martin and absolutely anybody else who can get up here. I had a couple of amusing bits of feedback over this past weekend asking, hey, is there anyone else the Pirates can call up today? This is fun. Well, eventually you run out. Eventually you got to start just managing the roster. And let's remember that a lot of these kids have gotten their chance, most of them actually, because a veteran got hurt. What really is going to tell the tale of whether or not this rookie movement takes hold is, A, if these rookies can perform well enough to justify staying in the majors, and B, how sensitive management is toward cutting someone like, say, Yoshi Tsutsugo. And believe you me, the impressions that I got from inside the Pirates is nothing of the kind is happening. They're going to stick by him. They're going to give him another chance. So I'd go easy on the notion that the cavalry has arrived. What you've seen so far, I believe, including in this 8-5 run that they've had of late, is the cavalry kind of knocking on the door. The cavalry kind of, I don't know, yelling from the lawn. I don't know, but they're not all the way in. There's no way that they can be. Maybe out of the group, and probably not even him, Jack Sawinski is the one that would have cemented himself the most. And I can't even use cemented because Sawinski's sitting there floating around a 220 average. And while batting average isn't as important as what it used to be, it's not nothing either. He still needs to get on base more often. He still has another level that he can achieve as a hitter. And one might argue that that level would be one that he bypassed entirely on his way to Pittsburgh. That, of course, being AAA. Still has yet to play a single game for Indianapolis. I would imagine that most of these patterns are going to follow the one that we've seen with Rodolfo Castro. He comes up, 5 home runs right off the bat, setting all kinds of, franchise records and even getting a little bit of national attention at the time. And then he takes a step backward. He comes up this season, does some really cool things, shows a lot of energy and excitement and everything else. And then he starts really messing up and he goes back. I have a feeling that's going to be more the pattern, and it's going to end up causing a lot of fan frustration along the way, especially if and when, one or more of these kids goes back and they get replaced in the lineup by whatever, Yoshi or Josh Van Meter or Jake Marisnik or players that nobody here really cares about. But the underlying principle to all this, and this is where I'll back Ben Cherington to the bone, you have to do the right thing by each individual prospect. I've believed that for a long time, even before it was something that the Pirates brought into play under Neil Huntington. You have to do the right thing. Now, if the right thing for the individual player, in my view, is to have them in Pittsburgh and learning in Pittsburgh, as it is with O'Neal Cruz, I'm going to sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but to me, that's a fair stance to take. I feel like Cruz could grow more by being here in PNC Park and playing against major league opponents and major league pitchers. But I most definitely didn't feel that way when Castro was messing up everything left and right and not even hitting particularly well. You're going to have to see more of a roller coaster before we can get into any of what you were describing there in the question. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. I'm heading to the ballpark today for the series finale. I'm going to cover that. It's at 12:35 p.m. First pitch from Mitch Keller. Let's do this again tomorrow.